favor. This is one more, please. Hello, and welcome to episodio número 24 of Otra, por favor.
Otra, por favor.
How are you guys today?
Doing well, doing well.
So I used to say, how are you, David? But now we have, Coque, and we have David Blue as a guest. So, it's one of the episodes that another one that, that when I was starting the podcast, thinking of ideas, is like, you know what? I want to have David Blue, like, in a podcast and talk about, like, him and his process of being a cinematographer or director. And without any further ado, in this studio we have David Blue Garcia. How are you today, David?
I'm great. Thanks for having me here.
Thank you, man. Thank you. How's everything for you right now? How's life in general?
Life is good, man. I'm relaxing a lot. I'm not working. I just finished a major project and taking a bit of a break. And looking for my next big movie, my next project, yeah. All
right. Can you share, before we get started, can you share a little bit about you, where you're from originally, and, so besides directing, what other work you have done in the past?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a filmmaker now. I've directed 2 feature films. My first one was Tejano, and my second one was Texas Chainsaw Massacre for Legendary Pictures, and they're both, they have something in common, Texas being a part of the title. So I'm kind of a Texas filmmaker right now. And it was a long, windy road to get to this position, to where I'm directing movies and being able to say I make a living as a filmmaker. From before that, I was a cinematographer, as you said, and director of commercials, industrials, corporate videos, anything I could get my hands on here in Austin, Texas. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And what do you guys think?
David, I'm happy to have you here, man. It's an honor, dude. Really, you're one of the people I look up to as far as a creative person. One thing I wanted to kind of get to know about you is how where you're from shaped you and allowed you to be the person you are.
Yeah, I mean, happy to talk about that. I'm from the Rio Grande Valley, which is a big part of my identity.
Little 956.
Yeah. I still have the valley number 956. For those of you guys who don't know, it's just it's a region of Texas on the South Texas border near Mexico. I grew up about 30 minutes from the border. During high school, we would sometimes skip class and drive down and go, dancing or go get some cheap drinks in Mexico, in Nuevo Progreso. And, it's just a different experience growing up down there. I think it's kind of like it's a transitional place between Mexico, a totally different country, and in America. It's not quite like either place. It's not quite like Texas, not quite like Mexico. A lot of Spanish is spoken down there, but a lot of English is spoken down there too. It's kind of just a mix and match sort of thing. I've lost my audio on this.
Yeah.
Check. Something.
It's probably just that cable in the bottom.
Oh, okay.
You just have to push it in.
Oh, this one?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah, so it's a really interesting place. And then, from a young age, I fell in love with movies and decided like sometime around middle school or high school, early high school, that I wanted to be a filmmaker, make movies. And it was just like a decision I made that sort of shaped the next 20 years of my life.
What, David, do you have anything to add?
No, man. Like Koga said, thank you for being here, man. We're excited to have you here. Yeah, from the 956. What's good? What's your favorite thing from the Valle?
Oh, the favorite thing to do.
Yeah.
I mean, I always liked. I like that it's a unique region. I mean, it's close to South Padre Island. Mm-hmm. It's close to like the beach, so it's really cool. Like you're living in McAllen, Brownsville, Harlingen, wherever, and you're out. It's a very agricultural place. So you go out there. There's like beautiful, like long flat horizons with like lots of fields, like orchards, grapefruits, citrus, cotton. It's just an interesting landscape. And then like you can drive 30, 45 minutes and you can be on the beach, surfing. You could go to nice, dance clubs. You can go deep sea fishing. And then you can also go south. You can go down to Mexico. You can go to Matamoros or Reynosa and like go shopping. It's an interesting place. It's got a lot of really good food, really good Tex-Mex food. And its own unique culture. So I appreciate it for that.
That's good. So David Blue Garcia, because you added your mom's maiden name to your name, right?
Yeah. So my mother is, her last name was Blue, and her family's from Florida. She's a white American, and my father was born to two Mexican immigrants who came in the 1920s, I believe. They immigrated from northern Mexico into Texas, and they just stayed in South Texas. So.
How is it coming from two different backgrounds? How did that shape you? As David Blue Garcia.
Yeah, it was always interesting, because coming from two different backgrounds, you have a for lack of a better word, a brown dad, and you have a white mom. You kind of feel like you're in between worlds. You're not quite Mexican American. You're not quite white either. So it was interesting growing up that way. I wasn't really part of the white kids in the valley because. In the valley, like the white kids, like a lot of the times they come from like landowner families, like big farming families. So they own like all the land that you see, and so they go out and they have 4-wheelers and they have tractors and they do all that stuff. And then a lot of the Mexican Americans aren't quite the same, you know what I mean? So I don't know, it's just interesting that how the groups sort of divide up down there. I mean, that's pretty broad, but I mean, it is kind of how it is sometimes.
Well, I think it's in general. I think it is like that. If you look at even Austin, some parts of it you already know, like the demographics. But I would say, I mean, it's kind of shifting because you have more ethnicities moving to neighborhoods that in the past, like oh dang, like say from my side of town, I live really close to like Nepalese. Literally, I would say about 8 Nepalese families just in 2 blocks.
Yeah.
So the interaction is my Ring camera is always going off because of the motion because they like to walk from one house to the other.
Oh.
And they're always cooking it up around 6 o'clock.
That's interesting.
So
yeah, I would say in the valley, at least when I was there, because I haven't been there in a long time, but I lived there for 18 years. It's not that diverse though. I mean, there's like Mexican Americans, white people, and there's like nobody else. Like we had like 2 black guys in my school. And like I ran track with one of them, and you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like, and then we had like 1 Asian foreign exchange student. Like that was it.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So like when I came to Austin, I was like, oh, there's like all these other people that I'm finally getting to meet, from different countries and different cultures. And I grew up a little bit, in just one culture. So
that's good, man. Now I mean it's I mean if you look at our soccer, David is part of our pretty much our group, Anarchist Soccer / Bailey's FC / Ernie's league game / everything, and it's very diverse how we all hang out. Raj is from India, I believe.
We got Gozi from Nigeria.
Gozi from Nigeria.
Me from El Salvador.
Yeah, and
Ecuadorians.
Pretty international group for sure.
Who's the Ecuadorian?
Esteban.
Oh, he's Ecuadorian.
Yeah.
And then Manuel's Colombian.
Yeah.
We definitely have a lot of representation in our pickup soccer group. For those of y'all who don't know, Dave, one thing I'm interested about is the transition. You grew up in a small town.
Yeah.
With a very similar backgrounds, then you come to Austin, you go to the University of Texas. What is that like? What was that transition like?
I mean, it's definitely like super eye-opening, right? I mean, coming from a small town and being kind of a big fish in a small pond, because like I wasn't the top of my class. I actually had kind of bad grades, but I would be like, I would test higher in my grade than most people. And I was like, I was on like the dance court and stuff like that. I mean, I was like kind of popular or whatever, but I don't know. Coming to Austin, you're just like, oh, there's like way more people that are like way smarter than me, and way more driven than me, and they know way more because they come from all over the world, really. And that was eye-opening to me. Just basically meeting people that were like from New York and meeting people from Connecticut or other countries. It just made me feel like I've got a lot to learn,
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Did you get to travel when you were younger to different places?
I mean, not really. I'd just been like to the border, Mexico, and around the country a little bit, like in the southern states, Colorado, California. I had some family in California, but I had never been abroad beyond that. Yeah. So I started traveling in college and after, got to see a lot of things.
That's good.
Yeah.
And now, like I would say, your line of job, you get to travel a little more.
Yeah, luckily with my job, I was a videographer, cinematographer. A lot of jobs would take me like to different places around the world. Like one of my favorite jobs that I ever did was in 2012. This guy hired me to shoot a documentary on religion that he was trying to make, and we flew to Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. Then we went to Morocco, and we went to Casablanca and Marrakesh, and then some village in the Atlas Mountains for like 2 weeks, and then we went to Kenya. And we went to Nairobi, and then we went to Kisumu, I believe, which near like Obama's dad's hometown.
Okay.
And saw Maasai, tribesmen and all sorts of crazy stuff, and then went to India after that, to Varanasi, and that took like a month, but I saw so much in that one trip. So,
What year was this?
2012. And one of my biggest regrets was I wasn't playing soccer back then, but I went to
Man.
When did you start playing soccer?
Oh, well, that's another story. But
Okay.
I gotta go I gotta go back to Brazil because I went to Rio de Janeiro, and they have the favelas there,
Right.
which are these big slums, like just around the city or like nestled into the hills. And they're actually quite beautiful, but there's like stacks of houses that are just built just up in the hills, and they're really crowded together. But they have a lot of these little soccer courts, because I think the government went in and built the soccer courts and helped them improve the favela. And I witnessed like a game like just in the neighborhood, like these guys playing like in a small, like a 5-versus-5 court. And I wish I could have jumped in. But it was so much fun.
It's a beautiful game, man. It's a universal language,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one thing I guess. Whenever if you play soccer, I mean basketball, possibly, but if you play soccer, it's gonna be, I think, easier for people to get around.
Right.
It's universal.
It's like
so
like universal language.
Yeah.
My goal is to play soccer in like every country or place that I visit.
Okay.
Yeah, I haven't been able to play abroad very much, but
Which countries have you played?
I've only played in states.
Okay.
In here in the U.S.
Yeah, I remember you telling me playing in San Diego, I believe, or somewhere in there.
LA.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I played in L.A.
Yeah,
I played in like Indiana. I played in like Houston, New York, Central Park. I found a game, but I haven't been able to find a game overseas yet.
No.
Yeah,
We're gonna have to.
I went to Croatia one year, and I was on this little island, and they had this like big, beautiful soccer field, and I saw a team like playing, so I went over there and I asked them if I could play. And they were like, "No, we're a professional team."
Tryouts were last week.
You probably had like Modric or Rakitic,
And I was like, "All right, well, can I at least get a picture with you guys?" And I took a picture. I took a picture with the team, and they were like huge, man.
Yeah.
Like I'm,
Athletes.
they're really tall over there, and they were like, and maybe the shortest guy was 6'1". So I just look like a little kid. So
Imagine if you take that.
I know. That's what I was gonna say. I don't want to be next to anybody like that.
yeah, like playing in Bailey, like I feel like I'm one of the taller guys sometimes, but like when I go over there, but that's the great thing about soccer too, is that there's no one body type that's good at it. Like some of the
that's
best
true.
players in the world have been very small, so that's what I love about it,
Yeah, you don't. I think for me, anytime there's like, oh, this player is 6 foot, I'm like, so what?
Yeah.
Like it's just about, I would say, about how good can you stay physically on a 2 hour game, overall, and it's because it's continuous.
Yeah.
I think that has to do more than just even the body type.
Right.
Like for me, it's just, yeah, I mean, for headers, obviously, if you're taller, it's going to be easier for you to score a goal, you know, in a header and a corner kick. But, you know, if you're defender, you might be a little more, you know, built. But even I've seen defenders that are smaller that can defend better than the guy that's like 6'5" and can barely run, you know?
Just because you just have to position yourself better.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter. So
It's just strategy and vision, right?
For those of you who don't know, Blue plays with some of the craziest energy I've ever seen.
That's true.
Yes.
Sometimes there's no way to stop him. Just kind of got to get in front of him. I'm curious if that's kind of how you work professionally. Do you have the same dimension?
Is that how you are?
Or is there, because we know Blue, the soccer player,
Right.
the futbolista.
Yeah.
Who is Blue,
Yeah.
the director, the filmmaker?
I don't know. I think there's different versions depending on my mood.
Okay.
But no, I mean, I've had people come up to me and say like, "Oh, you're very calm. Like you're very like, you know, calm and patient and whatever." And I'm like, I'm always surprised because I don't feel that way on the inside, you know. But then I also know that sometimes I get really energized and I start not yelling, but like raising my voice to like direct people and like get people motivated and like get kind of crazy and I grab the camera and you know, there's like a certain energy and
How do you get motivated with the camera? You go like, hey, wait. Or
yeah, well, I come from a camera operation, like cinematography. So like as a director, that's always that's my pacifier, right? If I feel like I'm losing control of a set or something, what I want to do is I want to grab the camera because the camera, that thing, is what the audience sees. And if you have control of that directly, it makes you feel like you're in control of something. So I often grab the camera and start making the ship move. You know, it's like maybe closest to what I am on the field.
Right.
Okay.
But when I was a little kid, I only played soccer until I was like 10 or 11, just like, you know, little league or whatever you call it. Mm-hmm. And they just had me as sweeper because I don't think I was very good, but I was very aggressive. So I would just like tackle everybody. That's what they did.
I can relate to that.
They had me in the back, just like slide tackling anyone coming towards the goal. So like that was my job, you know.
And it's funny because whenever we see Stevie and Blue going at it, or Manuel and Blue, I've never seen Manuel like in the floor like this, and Blue on the top. That was funny. The highlight of like the season, I would say, that year in particular.
Yeah, I got a little carried
Passions
away.
can run high.
Yeah,
Every now and then, even though it's just pickup.
Yeah,
We're all. I feel like we all have a level of competition, and we just don't like to lose sometimes. But at the end of the day, win or lose, we have a lot of fun, and we've gotten a chance to get to know each other a little bit more, and I think that's what we can really take value in.
Yeah, passions can get really high as we play, and then outside whenever you hang out with Cesar and those guys. I just had to throw it out there. Sole mío. But how so talking more about, you know, being like say recording, you just first time you grab the camera, do you recall the first time you were like, I'm shooting this thing and I feel like this is something I maybe want to do, or did it take a while for you to pick up that passion?
I totally remember. Like I was skateboarding, you know, in a parking lot with some friends, and we were like 7th grade or something like that, and maybe the summer. And this one guy had his dad's video camera, and you know, he was trying to film us do stuff like skating around, but I wasn't very good. Like I got my skateboard after everyone else, so I wasn't like able to ollie or really do anything other than just glide around.
Yeah.
So, you know, at some point I was like, dude, let me just take the camera. I'll film you because you're better than me, you know? Okay. And so he let me have the camera. So I got the camera, and then I would, you know, okay, go ahead. And it just started with those little simple, like getting him filming those skateboard tricks, you know? And then I'd be like, okay, I'm going to do that, but I'm going to do that from over here now so that we can edit it together. So like you start the trick here and then a cut. Yeah. And then you finish the trick over here. And then that little bit of magic of like making him, we started making jokes out of it, you know, like he would ollie over some stairs, right? And then it would look like he was like ollieing up some big stairs, right? And then we cut, and then he just cut to him on top. Just like a simple like, visual joke, you know what I mean? Because he couldn't actually go all the way up. Anyway, I just enjoyed that process, and that just led into like short films and skits and all sorts of stuff. So
it's interesting you describe some of these earlier filming experiences very action driven, skateboarding, and your movie Tejano was very action driven as well. Is that something that you're drawn to?
Yeah, I'm drawn to action.
You're all about that action?
Yeah, like I'm drawn to action adventure stories, suspense, horror. I don't, I love dialogue, but I want to see things that excite me. So,
right.
Yeah.
I'll say this, even your some of your shorts, like the Nintendo Switch.
Oh yeah.
Video you made. It's an awesome video, man. I'll tell you, you made it right around the time where I believe we were in quarantine.
Yeah.
Right. And that was the whole premise of it. For those of you who don't know, Dave's just playing a Nintendo Switch, and he's playing, what was it, FIFA?
Mm-hmm.
And he's looking outside and thinking, this would be much better to do outside. And he goes out and he starts playing soccer and noticing his touch is a little off. But,
but I didn't have to act very much.
But it had comedy, and it had that grace and that soccer action that when I watched it, I was like, it reminded me how much I loved playing, like how much I loved being outside with everybody here, and Bailey. So yeah, it inspired me. I even commented on the video. I'm like, dude, I gotta go play at Bailey's now, man. This video.
I'm glad it inspired you, man. Yeah, and and then you invited me to come back too, and I was like, yeah, it's time. Like, I can't be doing this anymore.
I think we're all trying to keep it like in the low key because it was like June. I mean, around June, right? Whenever we started coming back, so, yeah, and we didn't really message a lot of people because I didn't know how people would feel about it.
Yeah.
But then over time, we started seeing more people show up, and even if they were wearing a mask, it's like, man, as long as you come up and play, that's all that matters. Because you were like, doing that. And how was it like playing with a mask, man?
Oh, I was playing with a mask. It was kind of like my agreement with my girlfriend.
Yeah.
Was like, she was like, you can play, but you have to wear a mask. And I was like, fuck, all right. She wouldn't even know, but it's like, I'm just gonna do it.
You're conscious.
Yeah.
Because what if she like drives by and you're over here like, hey guys?
But I couldn't breathe, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know what? It's funny that you say that because McCallum, the high school that I went to, when the pandemic was happening, I would see games that they would post, and everybody was wearing mask, and I was like, how do they breathe? How do they play like this?
Yeah.
It's pretty tough.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you ever feel? The question is like, whenever we were out playing in that time, do you feel like you feel safe? You feel like some exposure? How was your feeling for you in that moment?
No, I mean, I felt safe, to be honest. Yeah.
That's good. Yeah, because I think that's one thing we were all talking about that last time, because everybody was like, man, for some reason I feel safe here compared to like going even to the store, because we're out there, and then the dust helped too.
Well, they say like it's hard to get it outside, right? So in that way we were very safe, but I mean we're also like running up against smashing sweaty bodies together all the time. So
touching the ball, all that. But
yeah.
Hey, I'm just glad nobody got sick. As far as we know, nobody got sick, and it was safe for everybody. I mean, the one that kept asking me if we were gonna start playing was Felicia. She kept messaging me, "Hey, are you guys playing?" And I would tell her, "Yeah, some of us are playing right now." And I was like, "Come out if you want." She's like, "No, I'm waiting because of the vaccine and all that." So, but yeah.
I guess we all needed that stress reliever, man.
For sure.
That outlet.
Because it was hard, dude. I mean, just being in there, like, so I don't know, like, what people's, like, how everything was for everyone. But I guess the fact that we're out there just playing, it was just like some kind of normality.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Blue, do you have any other hobbies or passion projects that we don't know about that maybe isn't filming per se, but is a creative outlet or something that you like to do to relieve some stress or just be sane?
Man, it's really like film and soccer, to be honest. Yeah,
it's life.
That's life.
Film and soccer's life.
I'm also I also paint, like I do watercolor paintings and like landscape paintings and stuff like that, where go outside and look at whatever the river's doing and try to match the color and all that. But yeah, I don't really share any of that with anyone. It's not very good. But I paint and draw sometimes. I used to play guitar a lot, but I don't do that anymore.
I remember you would post a lot of your sketches, like your bubble sketches. What would you call them? Like comic style?
Yeah, like little cartoons.
Yeah. Is that something that you use in your process to think ideas through whenever you're making storyboards or something for your movies?
Yeah, that's exactly it, man. When I do a movie or have an idea, I start drawing. And when I start drawing, that's the action, right? I always have to be doing something, and the action makes me think of things, and then the story forms more completely in my brain, you know, which is probably why I like soccer so much. It's like visual, you know what I mean? It's like, it's all about the pieces moving around.
Right.
It's very stimulating. But yeah, I use cartoons to sort of help think through things.
Right on.
Cool.
And regarding going back to you know, doing like video recording and then film, do you have someone that influenced you besides, and after the moment that you picked up the camera, you were like, you know what, this you know, person influenced me, or in a specific project?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're like a collection of, you know, we're influenced by literally everything, you know, we see in a way. But I was always, if you're talking about filmmaking, like I was always super inspired when I discovered Robert Rodriguez when I was, you know, in high school. I had seen El Mariachi, his first movie. I don't know if you guys have heard of Robert Rodriguez.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, big Austin filmmaker, very successful Mexican-American guy. Anyway, I just seeing like the name, like, oh, I know a lot of people named Rodriguez, but there's not that many filmmakers named Rodriguez, you know. But it's cool to see that guy. He's making it, and he's doing something. So maybe I have a shot. Oh, and he's a Texan too. That's really cool. Oh, right. And he made this movie for like $7,000 famously. And, you know, whenever I decided to make my own film, it was a little bit more expensive than that, but it was along the same idea, which is like, just do it yourself. No one's gonna do this for you. So you need to go, you need to get the camera, you need to get the actors, and you just need to go. And that's what I did to make Tejano. So Rodriguez was a big inspiration for me.
Is he from Texas, right?
I think he's from San Antonio area.
San Antonio?
Yeah.
That's good. Which that mariachi movie, which is the one with Antonio Banderas? Okay.
That's his. Okay, so he made El Mariachi for super low budget.
Okay.
And then a few years later, he remade it as Desperado.
That's the one with Antonio Banderas. Or Mariachi doesn't.
No, it does not have Antonio Banderas. It has like his friend, like his childhood friend.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And it's really low budget. Yeah.
So that's a good segue. Talk to us about Tejano. Give us a brief description in your words.
Yeah, I mean, Tejano is my first feature film. It's an action thriller set on the South Texas border where I was born and raised, about a young farmhand named Javi who has a sick grandfather. So he decides he needs some money to help pay the medical bills. So he goes to the cartel on the other side, and they break his arm and make him wear a cast made of cocaine and send him back across the border to collect his money. And then they double cross him, and it becomes sort of an action thriller towards the end of the film, where they're coming after him and his grandfather. So it's a simple story. People have called it a Tex-Mex noir, with a little bit of action thrown in. And it was a lot of fun to make. We shot it for $58,000. So really, really low budget film. A lot of passionate people came together to work on it. Crew members from Austin. We all went down there to the valley. We cast a lot of local non-actors from South Texas, and also we brought in some actors from like Los Angeles and Austin to come fill out those roles. So it was a real passion project, like a real Texas film, very regional film that has a lot of truth to it, even though it's just a genre story that we made up.
Right on, man. Yeah. When I watched it, I was on the edge of my seat the whole time. I loved it. And a lot of the things that you described about the valley and your upbringing there truly shine and come out, especially like the landscape, the way you set the picture, cinematography, everything really made me feel like I was there. I have some family in the valley too, so I'm familiar with driving through, seeing the windmills, and he had some motifs that kept coming up with the sun, the setting of the sun, and the windmills, and just the overall region and its kind of quietness. Even though there can be a lot of chaos behind the scenes, I thought really was rich in that film. So,
yeah, I mean those are the fields that I grew up like around. Like I grew up in a house outside of Santa Rosa. It was like a really small town. We grew up in the country, like, and we were just surrounded by cornfields, and that's what I remember as a little kid. Just endless stretches of horizon and really amazing sunsets. You know?
How far is each house away from like the neighbors? Like, is it like? Because over here, I mean, you're literally right next, almost right next to your.
When I was growing up, until I was like 5 or 6, we had one neighbor across the street, and I wouldn't really call it a street. It was like a caliche road, so it's just like crushed rocks. Yeah. And then the next neighbor was a mile down, and then like that was it. It was all fields, you know. And then we moved to the suburbs of Harlingen, so then it was just like normal neighborhood, yeah. But those formative years really like influenced me, I think.
Because it felt, I mean, in some parts it felt like some of the beginning. If I can, like whenever he was in his grandpa's house, Hobby, it kind of felt like an isolated thing.
Yeah.
But then there's like so much story behind just that isolated house, you know. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of the times in the border, especially, you know, down south by, you know, the valley, I'm pretty sure someone somehow has a story about their particular little place.
Absolutely.
Something happened here, something happened there, and you were able to bring that feeling. For me, that's how it felt.
Yeah, you came to one of the screenings here in Austin, and you told me that, you know, part of Tejano reminded you of your own experience, and I'd like to hear that story. Yeah,
man. So, I mean, for me, whenever I see, and I'm watching TV and I see the Rio Grande, like that, I mean, across the border. So it really brought me like all those memories and a lot of that. I think your movie kind of helped me heal a lot of the things, like subconsciously, because every time I thought about it, it was always like a negative connotation. Because I felt like I didn't think much of the people that lived there, but I always thought like immigration, you know, la migra and all that. but then I think like your movie helped me on coping with the other side. And now there's actually good people that live in that side of town. I mean, and then, but I've always heard stuff from the other side. I mean, all the drugs and, you know, the violence, you know, the coyotes, how much they charge people. But I never really got to hear from this side, like anyone that lived, especially, you know, around, because literally it felt like a lot of that, it kind of felt like I was in it because I've actually been, as, you know, as an immigrant crossing and, you know, walking through the ranches to go over, you know, the other side so we can avoid the checkpoint. So for me, it was just more like, dang, it felt real at some point. I was just like, a lot of things. But then I think it started bringing a lot of things like back, but then it started helping me process everything. And for me, that was a huge impact.
How old were you when you did that?
14.
14, wow. So you remember a lot.
Yeah. So, but then again, I think that's what helped shape a lot of who I am now. So, but it was one of those things that, I mean, yeah, this is a tough one, but I think the movie helped on like, you know, it's getting the perspective that I guess I needed in life, especially because for me, somehow, some part of Texas kind of have a negative feeling for some reason, even though like I've lived here for so long. So just thinking of that, thinking of the part Texas, what it represents for some people, it's good, but not everybody gets a piece of that, you know, that pie. And part of, you know, like the work that you did in a specific, it kind of helped on leveling some stuff out for me and hashing out some things and my feelings of how do I feel about certain things, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I'm really proud that it made you think that way and really feel that way because, you know, I want to make films that make people think and feel things, you know, make people, you know, have emotions and reactions. And obviously I don't want, you know, people to come away from films and just be like, okay, you know,
just another movie.
Yeah. So I'm really glad that it's a complex sort of reaction. The Valley is a complex thing. It's not, not one thing. And, you know, Border Patrol agents are often first generation Americans, you know.
Yeah.
You know,
for
and
sure.
they're some of them are very brown skinned, and you would think that they would side with the Mexicans, but they don't.
Yes.
Yeah, it's really hard to like understand that in a way, but
Yeah.
I feel like they just feel the need of doing that just to feel superior. I don't know. It can be different, you know, for everybody else, but that's how I see it sometimes, you know.
I mean, the agencies on there, they have pretty much a chokehold on the community, man. Like economically, they provide pretty much most of the jobs out there. So it's tough when you're thinking of families like bringing food to the table, but that's just the nature of their business. They got to make very, very, very difficult decisions that sometimes affect people for the rest of their lives, you know. I have family also near the border in Rio Grande and Miguel Alemán, Tamaulipas, on the Mexico side. So growing up, I would go to Miguel Alemán, spend time with my grandparents at their ranch. Very rural, very open space. So a lot of the scenes at Tejano reminded me of that, especially because there was an abuelo. So, and that relationship that he had with Javi, you know, it made me think a lot about my grandpa as well. And unfortunately, he's passed away, but it just made me recall a lot of the memories I had with him.
And that ranch was in Tamaulipas?
Yeah, in the Mexico side.
Yeah.
Alemán, that's
It's borders with Roma, Texas.
Roma. Okay. Because I'm trying to think where exactly. I can't remember the exact. I know it was close to Laredo, where the hotel was. Because our hotel, we literally, like, say for example, my hotel was like right here, not my hotel, but where I was staying, and then the border was like 100. You know, you just have to walk like 100 feet, and the river was right there. You can actually see the Jack in the Box, and I remember that because I lived in California, so there was a lot of things that I was familiar. Like, whoa, shit happens, I'm always gonna go to Jack in the Box, or something like that. That was my feeling, my thinking. Like, you know, if things go south, I'm just gonna go there and just hang out.
So
and
did you cross in South Texas or
South Texas?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I it was like we went to Laredo first, and then after that we drove to Miguel Alemán. And there's
I do recall that Jack in the Box.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do know. I know what you're talking
Yeah,
about.
and then there was I mean, a hotel, and like literally like on the road to the border, and then just like, all right, I guess this is where it's gonna happen. So it was an interesting thing, like overall, just that aspect of, you know, you bringing it to screen, where a lot of people, maybe even people here in Austin, didn't know about that, you know.
I definitely don't see a lot of movies set in that type of setting, so I think you definitely give voice to a community that doesn't see their stories portrayed in the media a lot, in movies or shows or films. So,
well, Austin still doesn't know about it because no Austin Film Festivals accepted my film to play.
Who do you want me to call out?
Yeah,
you know me. I can
call them out. Yeah.
we're gonna have to make a few phone calls after this.
Yeah, Matthew McConaughey, come on, way.
If you're listening to these, come on, man.
You know, it's funny how Austin, I mean, we're probably going to switch subjects here and there, but Austin is it's either you're part of something or you're not. And then if you're not part of that something, it's hard for you to get in. Like, do you think that's the case here?
Yeah, I think there's cliques in any industry. And in Austin, the film scene is very cliquey, and I don't think I was a part of it. You know, I was in and out of it, but I don't think I was a part of it. Yeah.
How long have you been in Austin?
20 years, almost, maybe.
Wow. Man, you've seen a crazy amount of growth.
Not quite.
I imagine.
I got here in 2003, so getting there, right? Bad at math, guys.
Buddy. 2 years old.
Almost.
Close enough. Almost 20 years, yeah.
This is the numbers guy over here.
About, give or take. Yeah. Well, depending on the month.
Just to be on the safe side.
Yeah. Well, you grew up around here.
No, I'm actually from El Salvador, but I got here really young when I was 13, almost at the age of
okay. But so you've been here for a while, though, too.
I've been here for a while, yeah. Since then, we just stayed here. Yeah, so
you've seen a lot of change.
I've seen a lot of change, for sure.
Yeah.
Especially on the east side, actually.
Oh, the
Yeah.
east side.
It's no longer.
It's unrecognizable.
It's no
right?
longer. Yeah, for sure. But yeah, I seen it change a lot.
What do you think about the change like on the east side?
I mean, it's in a way. We talked to the city council, and we asked her that question because we really don't know gentrification, right? How does that happen and why? And she kind of explained to us that it's something that you can really stop. It's gonna happen regardless. So either way, the way that what I think about it is that basically we're getting rid of all that culture and just pushing it to the side because all these new people's coming in to Austin and buying their houses and I just feel like in a way it's like always has been, you know. It hasn't changed. Like the minorities is always gonna get pushed away and the people with power and money is always gonna take their place. And I feel like we think it has changed, but I don't think it has changed at all. It's exactly the same. It's better for sure, but it hasn't changed completely.
Are you have you ever thought of like maybe creating a movie that, you know, describes Austin from how it is now and how it was in the past, comparing it, or somewhere, you know, where you get, you know, the east side of Austin, you know, the struggle, but then you get the gentrification of someone coming in and putting in a good amount of money for a house that now makes everyone around there has to raise their value in taxes?
Yeah, I mean, I'm interested in telling fantastical stories, things that are not of real life, but using the horror or the science fiction genres, I could explore these subjects. And if the right story came, I could see doing something about that, yeah. But I don't think I would do something literally about gentrification in Austin.
That'd be
Not action enough, guys.
Yeah, it's very slow, kind
Right.
of under the scenes type action,
Yeah.
but very, very much driving forces that have shaped the city in a different way, kind of giving it like a different character. And now with the news of companies moving here, moving their headquarters here, it's just
Tesla.
even a bigger inevitable change.
Oh, and guess what? Tesla, Elon Musk is also taking over the valley.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, with the space
not know
space
that.
program, right?
The spaceport.
Spaceport.
Dang.
You've not heard of this?
Nah.
Elon Musk.
I try not to, like, there's two people that I try not to pay attention to. Is Joe Rogan and Elon Musk. I don't know. Like, I don't want to jump in that wagon
You
yet.
got to know what they're doing, though.
I
That's true.
remember seeing something about that SpaceX were leaving all the trash and whatever after the experiments or stuff like that that their things had blow out or whatever, and they weren't cleaning that. And
Basically, all I know is that down in Boca Chica Beach, which is right down there on the border, right outside of Brownsville, just south of South Padre Island, you can see. I went there recently. You can see the rockets.
Yeah.
From the causeway from the bridge. Wow. It's really close. But he bought up all that land and he's going to launch all his rockets there. And there was a small community of people living there, and he's basically buying them out. And the people who didn't leave, they're just launching rockets in their backyard, basically. And so
that's messed up.
all the pollutants and things are going
Crazy, man.
And not to mention that there's, that's a nature sanctuary, and there's all sorts of marshland.
From what I know, that area of Texas, South Texas, is rich in biodiversity, in birds,
sea turtles,
a bunch of animals that probably don't like rockets in their backyard. They're probably not going to live a good quality of life, and you can see that it's going to change the scene down there. Yeah,
but it's just such an interesting place now because to me, the valley was always so rural, like we talked about.
Yeah.
Well, now there's like rockets, like flying into space, and there's like cows moving in the foreground. It's just such a bizarre thing.
There's an action
Only in the
idea
valley.
for you right there.
I think that's actually the Texas license plate. It's like a cow,
And then
an oil field, and a rocket.
Well, because of NASA. Yeah. But it's so weird.
I just never expected it to be like in the valley.
It's literally the valley now.
Yeah. Because, if you look at it, not even in Houston, NASA is literally, down the street from
Down
where
the
I
block.
used to live.
Yeah.
And, even in the school, you never heard any like sounds of testings of rockets or ships or anything.
Well, they didn't launch there.
They
They
launched
launched
in Florida.
They launched in Florida.
Yeah.
It's just control center.
Oh,
I used to love space.
you still have space.
Have you been to the NASA
Oh,
in Houston? It's
yeah.
awesome, dude.
I went.
Yeah.
That was one of my favorite places to go growing up, and I did like space camp in middle school. I was such a nerd.
Hey, man, I wish I could have done that. That's awesome.
Coke, every time we have a talk, Coke is like, he brings up the dev because he's actually experienced it.
I
So
know,
we're like,
right?
hey guys, have you guys done this? And we're like,
No.
Well, so in space camp, did you get to do like the fake shuttle mission?
We did. It was a fake shuttle mission. We had like seats that sat back, and we actually had like little NASA jumpsuits, and it was crazy. We landed on the moon.
Oh, were you the pilot?
Yeah, I was actually one of the pilots. I was the co-pilot. I wasn't the main pilot. So we landed on
Not
the
good
moon.
enough.
Yeah.
I didn't make the cut. We landed on the moon, and we had to make a shelter out of like these plastic bags, and they would attack our shelter in the middle of the night, and we had to make repairs with duct tape. It was
Awesome.
a whole
You had to
scene, man.
Problem solve all that.
Yeah, the problem solved. Like you didn't know what was gonna happen, and you had a certain amount of time because you run out of oxygen. Like, I mean, that's one of the most memorable middle school experiences ever.
That's incredible.
I've never been to NASA, actually.
I've never gone. Me either. I mean, I've driven by it, go to school.
One of the coolest experiences I had was, I was a videographer. I was shooting for Nickelodeon, Nick TV or something like that. It was a program for kids. And we went to NASA, and I got to go behind the scenes and film a lot of really interesting places in the NASA, testing grounds. They have a space station replica in there. Have you seen it? It's like the International Space Station. It's full-size replica, but I got to go inside it. But the real cool thing that I got to do was they had a Mars rover that they had built, and they had like an obstacle course for it to go on. And it's this huge, like, I don't know, it had like 8 huge tires and like a kind of a spidery looking thing, and I got to ride inside it.
Wow. You got the special access, man. I didn't get that general admission.
so Blue's been quiet. I'm like, I'm just waiting for the moment to bring it in and let him know.
I mean, I wish I got to fly a space shuttle in middle school. That's
He's like, I was about to, but they ran out of fuel.
They didn't even give me a seatbelt in the Mars rover.
Hey.
But
Oh man. Well, talk to us about your new project, man. The one you just wrapped up. Texas Chainsaw.
actually,
But
Thank you for listening to episode 24 of Otra, por favor.
Otra, por favor.
Please join us next week for a continuation of our talk with David Blue Garcia on film, soccer, and other things.
Yes, don't forget. It's gonna get pretty interesting about stories that he has and about how he traveled to another country to film a movie. Stay tuned.
adios.